Welcome to Pedalboards of News, the show whose name makes no sense, yet you know exactly what we do. Okay, let's start this week's news with something that seems to be quite controversial, yet I'm not entirely sure why. I'll go into the bits and pieces about it, but Universal Audio, so they're a company that have been around since 1954, I believe, and the guy who started up Universal Audio has been responsible for countless things, such as the first reverb unit that wasn't actually using springs and that sort of thing. He invented the vocal recording booth and all these sort of things. And his sons run the company now. They're a big company over in the States, got about 200 employees. So they're a big tech company. They do a lot of plugins. If you use plugins, you know them. They obviously brought out the Oxbox, which has been insanely popular. And that's the attenuator thing that a lot you see in a lot of videos for people like Andertons and so on and so forth. Now they have started to release pedals. Now this isn't a surprise because Thor, who used to work for TC Electronics and was Pedal Jesus, everyone called him, he moved over to Universal Audio probably a couple of years ago now, and we haven't seen any pedals. It was going to happen. So they've released these pedals. Now, when I first heard the leak that Universal Audio were releasing free pedals, everyone I spoke to expected them to be charging a lot of money because they are not a cheap company. They are a premium company. We all expected them to be in excess of £500 or dollars or whatever. And when we found out that they were £350 pounds and $399, we were pretty surprised, to be honest, because they could have charged whatever they wanted for these. It's not a little bit of money, but there's one on here which is actually very good value, so we'll go through them. Let's go through them one at a time. Okay, so we have, to start with, we've got the golden reverberator. We have 3 different types of reverb, and then on each type of reverb you've got an A, B and C option. So you've got 9 different types of reverb, and then you can adjust each one and you can save them the presets, which I'll come to in a minute because I've got a jip with that. So the different reverbs are Spring 65, Plate 149 I believe that says, and Hall 224. So you've got Spring, Plate, Hall. Great, okay. Then you've got settings A, B and C. On the Spring, for instance, you've got different years of basically Fender Spring voices. But then you can adjust the decay, the pre-delay, which is always a godsend, mix, bass, treble, and then you can adjust modulation on the end, so you can give your tails a bit of a warble. Now, the delay and the reverb, you can adjust whether you have tails on or off, so when you switch it off, whether it continues or not. And you can adjust the whether they're true bypass or not. These are likely to be linked things, because usually if you've got tails on, you've got to have the true bypass off. But we'll see. We don't know these pedals in depth yet. They do sound good though. You've got store, so you've got a preset switch on here, as you can see, and yeah, they are pretty good sounding. The one I'm most excited about is this one, which is called the Starlight Echo Station. Why am I excited about this? Well, my favourite delay pedal ever is the DD500 from Boss, because it does so much and the sounds in it are perfect. It does a lot more than this. My favourite analog delay pedal ever is the Delay Llama from Jam Pedals, because it's just beautiful. This, however, is the closest I've ever heard to a proper tape delay. I've had the privilege of playing tape delays, and when I heard this, I was shocked. I need to hear it in person, really, to confirm how good it is. But let's face it, tape delays, this is based on an EP3, so an Echoplex. They are very expensive, they're a bugger to upkeep, and this sounded perfect. So at £350 or $400, that's a bargain. If that's as good as it sounded in the demos, then that is a bargain. Go and check out Andy's Reverb demos. So Andy over at Reverb, go check his demos out on this, because he did, he always does a great job. We all know that. What are the controls on this? You've got delay, feedback, mix, subdivisions. You've got 6 different subdivisions plus dotted eighths included in that. You've got a colour switch on there, and obviously you've got the mod on there as well, the same as you had on the Reverb. The different delay types are tape, epiplex. So it just says tape EP3, so that's obviously echoplex as we mentioned. Analog DMM, so that's deluxe memory man, and then precision, which is digital delays, and then you've got 3 variations of each. That is awesome. Now all of these pedals have stereo outs, and what they've done, I'll put up a picture here, you can see that they've stacked them, and that means they can keep the pedals nice and small without negating stereo, because we all want the ability to have stereo even if you're not using them. So we'll come down here a second and we'll have a look at the last one. So this is not one that I want because I don't need a multi-modulation, but one that I want because Astra is written in the Sega font, and I love computer games. So this is like, I want the whole range to be written like that. Everything needs to be written like that. From now on, everything, that's the law. Everything needs to be written in that font. Okay, we've got chorus brigade, so obviously it means bucket brigade like the old choruses. We've got flanger, doubler, and trem 65. The chorus one, you've only got A and B modes on this. The B mode for the chorus is a vibrato. You've got a flanger, and then the B mode is a doubler, so you get a nice doubling effect. And then the trem, and I can't remember what the second mode of the trem is, but it's probably another trem that's voiced differently. It might be harmonic trem, for instance. It controls the speed, depth, intensity, shade, shape, and mode. So shade's going to be darken it up a little bit. Again, presets. Now these look fantastic. They are expensive, but they are not stupidly expensive. However, there is one massive downfall. People who are spending that much money on pedals that do that many things want MIDI. Okay, we were talking last night on our live cast, go check it out, right? But we were saying the amount of people who use MIDI who have pedal boards is probably between 5 to 15%. It's growing all the time. The percentage of people who are buying pedals at this price who use MIDI is more likely to be 30-40%. And that's a problem, because these don't have MIDI. They have a preset. Whether it's more than one preset, I don't know. It doesn't look like it, does it? You've got the store button in the middle, which is like a momentary switch, and then you've got a button that says preset, so that'll give you 2 presets, the settings that are on the controls, and then you hit the preset on. But why would you not add MIDI to this? I don't understand it. Right, okay, let's move on to the next one. This is kind of cool. This is almost like presets as well, I suppose. So I love playing with wahs. I know it's not cool anymore, but wahs are awesome. And Crybaby, so Dunlop have released a Crybaby. It's called the Custom Badass Crybaby wah, and it has 2 inductors in it. Now the inductors are the thing that really voice it, and you get all different types. I've got a Whipple inductor in my wah, which is a Crybaby that I modded, and that sounds fantastic, and that's based on an old Vox, really old Vox wah. You get the phasals, you get yellow phasals, you get red phasals. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. Others of you are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about, Lee? But that's what you get. That's the inductors. Now what they've done on here is they've put a classic voiced red phasal in there, and then a halo inductor as well. So you can switch between the 2. So that gives you 2 different voices on your wah, but it's not digitally done, it's analog, so it's there. You've actually got 2 different wahs built into one, and then you've got 2 different controls on the side. So these look really, really cool. I quite fancy one of these. I wonder if they'll do a mini version. Yes, that is looking really, really groovy, and yeah, I like the silver top to it as well. They're really going for that. Look, we are a crybaby, but we understand that the Vox wires are important too. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. And lastly, there was a leak and an onion and a pear. There was a leak. Sorry, that was a terrible joke. Oh, sorry. Right, there was a leak, and I think it's been confirmed. So Line 6 have a wide range of Helix products, and they had like the big Helix, then they had the smaller one, the LT, but it didn't have all the Helix things. I think you had I think the LT was the one that just had the pedals in it, didn't have any of the amps and these sort of things in. Then they brought out the Stomp, which was even smaller but had everything in, but suffered from smaller processing power, which you know, only really came into effect if you were using a lot of very powerful processors. And now they've brought out a bigger version of the Stomp. Doesn't really make that much sense until you start looking at a lot of people's boards. What people were doing is they were getting the HX Stomp, and then they were buying something that was like the Morningstar MIDI switchers, putting it alongside it and using it to extend the range of what the Stomp could do. Line 6 have obviously looked at this and said, well, hang on a minute, that costs X amount, why don't we just make a bigger one that doesn't cost that much more, and then put it out, because obviously people want that. So there's two ways of looking at that. Either you could say, well, hang on, they've just released something with a few extra switches and they're charging like £150 more. Or you can say, well, look, they're looking at what people are doing. They're looking at people saying, look, that's great, but it isn't quite enough. And they're saying, okay, well, you can still buy the Helix Stomp, but you can buy this slightly bigger one for a little bit more. There isn't as much as going out and buying something like the Morningstar more. And there you go. So yeah, I think this is a good idea. It's still very, very small. And yeah, I think it's been confirmed now, so I feel like I can put this out in the news. It's got more ins and outs as well. We've got volume, which is you push it out and then you can do it. That's the overall master volume. Expression 1 and 2, so that's TRS, so you can split it. You got send, which is stereo running on TRS as well. And then you've got a return, and you've got the actual outs on here. You'll be able to see it, I'll have it on the screen here. You've got your normal input, so you can have 2 inputs and 2 outputs, so you can run a stereo pedal into this. And then you've got headphones out as well, which is always a great thing for that the HX Stomp had, so people can play silently with this. And then you've got MIDI in and out, and you've got your USB connector and your DC in. Do not be mistaken in thinking that all of these ins and outs didn't exist on the HX Stomp. A lot of them did, and they were just down the side, just not on the back panel. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good option for people. It's not like they're replacing the HX Stomp with this. They're just giving you the option. So if you are someone who thinks, oh, do you know what, I want the HX Stomp, but then I've got to go out and buy this extra bit as well. Well, you don't have to. You can buy it as a package now. So yeah, looks really, really cool. And yeah, well done, Line 6. That's great. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Tonepedia, who create an interactive playground for you to go and compare one pedal against another, one guitar against another, amps, everything you can dream of, all analog recorded, real recordings, and set up so you can play it as if you were playing it yourself. Great in the times of COVID. Go and try them out over at the website that's in the link. Thank you very much. See you all next week. Bye bye.